This morning I read from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and 12. So let us have a look together a few points from these two chapters this morning. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 is written about Paul's concern for their faithfulness. Paul's concern for the faithfulness of Corinthians. So 2 Corinthians chapter 11 is the second letter to the Corinthian church. Apostle Paul wrote this letter with some warnings about false teachers in Corinth, because whatever he taught them about Jesus Christ and the church was the truth. He said that even if he was not a great speaker as super apostle of the church, his knowledge and beliefs were equally true. Actually, super apostle were not apostle of Jesus. Super apostle, they were false teachers who appeared to be superior to Paul in their manner and authority. Paul used to call them super apostle or chiefest apostle in a facetious manner. Therefore, Paul wrote this letter to protect the people of Corinth to avoid false teaching in Corinthian church. Paul was so much suffer in Christ's name. He has worked harder and he has been imprisoned, flogged, beaten up, and stoned. He was in a constant danger. He had exertion physically and mentally, worrying about the churches. He helped to establish the churches. So, dear Christian fellow brothers and sisters, today, if you and I are in place of Paul, can we take up this challenge? Just think about the life of Paul. So, we must take up our cross to follow Jesus Christ. This is our duty. We must take up our cross to follow Jesus Christ. This is our duty, dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. So these are the points from this 2 Corinthians chapter 11. So now let's have a look from chapter 12, 2 Corinthians chapter 12. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul was talking about so many things, but I'm not going to explain all the points of view this morning from here. So the first thing he talks about the vision of paradise, and he talks about his boast of his weakness. He talks about remain humble, and Paul also talks about hope for his visit. That means in Corinth. And Paul also talks about the reason for going to Corinth, and he also wandered heart, not possession. He need heart, not possession. So I would like to explain a few things from these chapters. Paul said, I knew a man in Christ. Paul was referred to himself as he speaks in the first person. In verse 7, as we see in verse 7, Paul speaks in the third person to show his humility, which means humility and modesty. Paul referred to a distinction in the Jewish belief of the supreme heaven and the middle heaven and the lower heavens. he was talking about all these things in chapter 12. So I hope everyone may understand this morning what I'm explaining from these two chapters. Those who are listening from this explanation, some few points, may the good God bless you.